Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion, you hear this every week. You know where to drop a line to suggest topics, and I'm actually starting to get to the bottom of my list. So if you have a topic that you want us to discuss, our top 3 of favorites of whatever, please hit us up on Twitter, in Discord, or even at Focus Fire Chat at our Gmail, focusfirechat@gmail.com. This week, we are kind of sort of revisiting our childhood a little bit. Instead of doing teenage years, favorite anime, we're actually doing our childhood TV shows or cartoons. I'm kind of adding a little addendum based off of recent discoveries within our host, which I guess I kind of knew that ahead of time. But Blue, do you want extra time to go?
No, I'm good.
Or you're good? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first.
And I'll go. Beard can go second this week.
Yeah, that's fine. So I actually just realized I don't know if this is actually the name of the show, but it was the Pirates of Dark Waters. Does anyone remember that?
Yeah.
Is that what it was called? Is that the show?
Pirates of Dark Waters? I don't know.
Oh my god, it was freaking amazing. It was
but I can't remember if that's exactly what it is.
I'm gonna say
that is the name of it. I just looked it up.
Is it? Okay. It's basically like a twist on Sinbad, but with more supernatural stuff. It was really, from what I remember, it was really good. I actually now that I'm talking about it, I kind of want to go watch it again. But it actually was a pretty decent little cartoon. It reminds me a lot of I think it was it Disney that did Treasure Planet? Or was that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that type of kind of feel, that feel with the attitude of Titan AE. It was a lot of really different shows kind of blended together. I don't know. It was a really fun. I don't even know if there was on for very long, to be honest.
This is one of the Hanna-Barbera shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
And the only reason I remember this show is because of this character that is this Griffin character that's red with human ears that was really creepy. I don't even know the character's name, but I remember him. Okay. I recognize this show. Oh, and the evil bad guy with the talisman? Yeah, I totally recognize
the evil
this.
guy, and then the Dark Waters themselves, which was super creepy and probably explains my distaste or distrust of water that I can't see the bottom of.
Okay. Huh. Man, I'm excited for the rest of this list of yours, because it's okay, I have not thought of this show in forever.
Really eclectic, I'll be honest.
I'm okay with that.
My taste and stuff is, if you guys haven't figured that out, it's usually either really boring or really weird. But before we go down that rabbit hole, let's go to Beard.
Yeah.
I'm probably boring for the opposite reason, because I'm going to be a little bit more what's the
predictable?
word now? Predictable, yes, thank you. I don't know why the heck I completely forgot that
predictable?
word. Yeah, I guess I'm too chaotic for this podcast. So my number 3 is going to be a golden oldie, one that has been rebooted I don't know how many times at this point. Has now turned them into aliens.
Super Senpai.
Not okay with? No.
Okay.
No, I'm being good.
My Little Pony.
Ow! Jiminy Crickets, what's wrong with you? Do you even know me? My number 3, before we let Blue have any more mic time, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh my gosh!
That's your number 3?
That's my number 2.
3.
The original ones. Right?
Yes.
Because all the other
ones out of the 80s.
Yeah, the ones that are actually good, because all the other ones are terrible. The animation is just they have the brand new one that just got released. My son was watching it and I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. I'm like, that's not animation. That's not even close to animation.
Yeah.
Who thinks that's animation? Because they are wrong.
That cracks me up. That was
You're doing it wrong.
No, definitely number 3 though. I know that a lot of people will look at me funny and be like, "Oh my god, how could that be your number 3?" And I'm just like, well, as much as TMNT is amazing, there are points that it really does treat you like completely as a kid, which is exactly what they're supposed to do. But it's one of those that I can definitely say is still enjoyable and fun. Even to this day, I go back and I watch it now and again, and I'm like, this is still actually pretty dang good.
And the video games were fun too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I had tons of fun with them, no matter
fun air quotes.
I enjoyed them.
Hang on.
Okay. Are you talking about the SNES game? Because
let's fix this. The first one on the NES gets a hard pass to no, not whatsoever. However, the second and third ones are amazing. Just gonna say that.
Okay, I'll take that. And you think you're throwing it back with your number 3? I'm actually going way back to 1940 when this cartoon first showed up.
But you're not that old.
I'm not that old, but it was such a staple in my house, and it was the cartoon series that just kind of set me on my path for love of classical music and just a lot of like weirdly culturally finessed type things, and that
Looney
is
Tunes.
Bugs Bunny. Yeah, Looney Tunes.
Yes,
yeah, Bugs Bunny was like one of my favorites growing up.
The best thing about Looney Tunes is, and I'm sure you've seen it, is the arc, the series, or I guess the years that they were doing with the World War, where they were basically using Looney Tunes as basically a soft form of propaganda.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! Like if you just go and watch that, because it's crazy what they did, and it's actually not too bad, but oh my gosh.
Well, there's like the musical ones where there's like the opera one and there's the Bugs as the director, which is still one of my favorites to this day, where he basically makes that poor opera singer just burst essentially out of his tux because he's holding this note so long.
I remember that one.
It's such a good episode. Anyway, Looney Tunes is still one of my favorites, and I actually have a DVD of a lot of those musical ones that I bought when I started teaching, because I told myself I bought it because I was having the kids watch it as like an exposure type thing, but I really just wanted it for myself.
Well, and the great thing about Looney Tunes is how much of it ended up spawning like offshoots and everything, like Tiny Toon Adventures and such. Like that was such an influential cartoon for upcoming television and whatnot, and the reruns to this day are still like some of the best television out there, period. And like how they called stuff to begin with was also like ridiculous. But yeah, just so many different things that that they predicted that they did. To this day, still one of my favorite skits and whatnot is the Spear and Magic helmet. That is still like one of my favorite things. Like the couple opera ones that they did were just great.
Daffy and Bugs.
Yeah, and then Tiny Toons had one where they did like an all. Well, and I know Jim Henson's like the Muppets, the Mini Muppets show. Did like a small, did like a homage to all the other cartoons that were out there for a while, as close to like the OKKO stuff as you can get for today. But they did like all of a sudden everybody's dressing up like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like the best ever.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I'm letting myself jabber on here, but it's just to like express like how important like Looney Tunes is as like a function, though, to like how everything has kind of developed and changed. It didn't get on my list because I found it not as enjoyable as the other stuff I'm going to mention, but it's still just so important.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these shows that we're probably going to list off were important in one way, shape, or form. Which brings me to ask Blue, what his number 2 is.
So my number 2 originally was going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but so fair enough that Beard got it. So in regards to that,
I'm actually last week.
Yep, I know. I'm a good sport about it. So I guess what I'll do is I'll shift it, and I'm actually going to say it's a toss-up between the old animated series of Dungeons and Dragons and Thundercats.
Thundercats is a good one.
Still have a Thundercats keychain.
Oh my god, Thundercats!
What was the name of Snarf? Oh my gosh, there's a place in town that is a restaurant called Snarf's, and I can't bring myself to go to it.
Never, ever, never! Can we just not?
Snarf!
Stop!
Oh my gosh, yeah. He was the original
I refuse
Flapjack. All right. Beard, we'll go with your number 2 then.
My number 2. Y'all actually know my number 1 if you heard from last week, which is kind of the ironic part. My number 2, however, you just sort of look up at a building and sometimes he's just hanging there. Anybody would know the tune.
Hunchback of Notre Dame? Oh, okay, Batman.
Batman the Animated Series.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I mean, he's hanging from he said he's hanging from a building.
I mean, all of a sudden, all I'm thinking about is freaking Van Helsing, where he's in the movie fighting against Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where he's Mr. Hyde at that point.
You mean the Hulk?
For that one.
You mean the Hulk?
Yeah, basically the Hulk. I still love that movie for how stupid it is.
Yeah, it was horrible, but it was enjoyable.
But it was one of those stupid horribles. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here.
That's okay.
So Batman the Animated Series ended up branching into several other series points from there. But one of the most special things for me about that series is that they actually took the ideas of Superman and Batman being pretty close together, and they ran with it. Like they wanted to make sure that it was all pretty well meshed. And that was, if memory serves, the one that started pretty much all of it. I have them all on DVD. There's 4 seasons of it, but then it branches into the Adventures of Batman and Robin, and then the mood kind of shifts again. And it gets a little bit more lighthearted, and then all of a sudden the Oracle episodes happen.
Oh God, it was
and I'm just
Did they stay true to the comics on those? Because I don't think I saw.
I don't know. They didn't really show it, but they
didn't show Joker doing the thing.
No, here's how it went.
Yeah,
they did, but they didn't.
Okay.
The whole thing actually incorporated Scarecrow even more. So here's the whole thing that kind of blows the entire series out of the water versus like most of the other animateds that I will ever watch probably in my life. This starts a little bit of a story, so bear with me here for a second. We know how the movies kind of went. Batman 1 and 2, Batman the original 1984, and then Batman Returns, I would probably say are some of the best of the movies that are kind of out there.
Right.
At least in my opinion, I think those two are better than most of the others. Because then we end up getting into either Batman Forever or Batman and Robin. And both of those incorporate some stupidity beyond stupidity. There is such things as a Bat credit card. And there are all the jokes that just
They wanted it to be campy with it. And they wanted to go back to the original TV show. And they went too far.
But this is exactly my point. Because Batman the Animated Series treated kids like adults more than those films ever will.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. The amount of adult-oriented themes that exist in Batman the Animated Series is insane. The absolute amount of either dark humor, dark representation, or dark circumstances that occur within that series are insane. And thus we get to something like the Joker where, of course, he's basically as Mark Hamill, of course, because most of us know that's what he's famous for per this point, along with Luke Skywalker, but I will always now remember him more for the Joker because of this frickin' show. But when we get to the frickin' episodes with Barbara becoming Oracle, and you see the stuff that's going on with Scarecrow, you are reminded what somebody could do if they would make an R-rated Batman film that had Scarecrow in it.
Mm-hmm. And it actually makes Scarecrow scary.
Right. Which is actually one thing I'll give Gotham, the TV series, a little bit. They tried to do that. I feel like they never went far enough with it, but they have potential. The fact that I can at least go back and see the Arkham games, however, and see what they have done with Scarecrow in the Arkham games, that gives you a hint of what kind of like level they were trying to skirt back with the animated series. Because a lot of what had happened with the animated series, those guys were still very much involved with the Arkham games. So that's why I've always had such high praise for them. But long story short, if you have never honestly watched Batman the Animated Series, it is probably one of the best cartoon series that you can get into, because again, it can kind of all branch into itself a little further. You then had spin-offs that happened like Batman Beyond. Everybody thought that was going to kind of go places. It never, unfortunately, did much. It wasn't bad. I've actually liked the comics that they've done, which have actually been like a resurrection thereof. It's like one of those things where the original rendition in animation form didn't do well, but as soon as they had comics that they could go by, or like a world they could go by, now the comics are just flourishing, which is great to see. But then you also had Teen Titans that was born of this, the original Teen Titans, and talk about another show that was also built off of like dark theming and so on. They're working with frickin' Deathstroke, for God's sake. Like, they've got Deathstroke as the main villain, calling him Slade. He's going back and forth with Robin, which is I believe, or not. Yeah, it's goodness, I think it is Jason Todd, if I remember right.
I think
it's not Jason. Supposed to be Dick Grayson.
No, because he goes
shows up every now and again.
Yeah. Even though Teen Titans Go make the joke that he becomes Nightwing.
Yeah. Yeah, which I'm still like, that's not right. Can we kiss and can and check here? Anyway. But yeah, like, and then of course we had Superman that also, of course, it spawned from that. We had Justice League that ended up popping up from that. DC had all the animated stuff on lock before Marvel even tried. Like, it wasn't even a contest with what was on television back out of the 90s. The way that DC had done everything, their animated films continue to stay as like some of the absolute, I still say, better of them versus what you'll find with like Marvel's animated films. Because I watched the origin story for frickin' Doctor Strange, because I posted that up on Netflix, and I was like, that is just not as good as what they did with the MCU. So there's that part. I know that they're working within timelines and so on, but yeah. Black Flag also brings up the last one that I wanted to talk about, which was Static Shock. Because again, that was another thing that DC kind of pulled into thanks to Batman the Animated Series. Point in case, Batman the Animated Series basically made the 90s for me. That entire show spurned so many different offshoots, it's not even funny.
And this is your number 2?
This is my number 2, yes. Goodness. Like, this should actually tell you something for the way that my number 1 is. And again, all of you actually know, like, what is my number 1.
Or could guess.
Could guess, yes, because of what I had said, like, last week already.
My Little Pony.
Yeah, you already know.
Or every week. There's almost, like, you always manage to put a reference of it in the show somehow.
See, but you're wrong. I already know what you're going to say, and you're wrong.
It's not true.
That's not true.
Anyway, I will leave that be. I think you all kind of get the point. Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill will always be my Batman and Joker, within, of course, that respective order. But this show has much to do with that, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So my number 2 is another oldie because
Dude, there is nothing wrong with the old.
I don't know why you're trying to figure out how to apologize for that. I was about to say.
It's just it's funny because when I was growing up, you were talking about how when you were growing up, you didn't watch a lot of TV because you weren't allowed to. When I was growing up, we had 3 channels. So I didn't watch a lot of TV, and what I did watch was very restricted to what those 3 channels would be because we had bunny ears for a good part of my youth. And so my number 2 and 1 are both things that would come on at different points in the day, luckily. But my number 2 is one that would show up after school, and it was Scooby-Doo.
Oh.
Any iteration of Scooby-Doo. Like the newest iterations are weird. Let's just say that they've gotten more into like the I don't even like. They've always done the ghost hunting thing, but now they're kind of doing a little bit more creepy ghost hunting. I don't know. It's just
are they taking too much references from like, Ghost Hunters?
Yeah, I guess so. It's less of that really odd mystery solving and more actual ghost. Like the thing that was great about Scooby-Doo is that when you've caught the bad guy, it wasn't a ghost, it was a guy in a mask.
Those darn kids!
With it too, if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
And that blasted puppy. Anyway, also Scrappy-Doo is the best, even if he was a jerk.
Uncle Scoob, we got him.
Uncle Scooby, see Scrappy. Let me at him. Anyway.
Now let me at him. Let me at him.
Yeah. There's some good memories there. But
yeah, no,
the newer ones are just weird. The movie was terrible.
Let's be honest here. Most new television is friggin' weird.
My wife and I were just having this conversation. Like, there is like no animation video like out there for kids that isn't like, I'm uncomfortable watching this. Like,
I don't know. There's like the little ones. Like there's a Neverland one that's actually.
Oh yeah,
really
Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Yeah, that's actually that's a fair point. Actually, the toddler and younger have like perfectly normal animation, and then it's like, what in God's name did Ed and Eddie get in control of the Cartoon Networks here?
I don't know. There was also Ben 10, I think was the name of one of them. That one wasn't bad.
Ben 10 was pretty good. OKKO is also a fairly more recent one, but that's another pretty good one.
I'll have to look him up. Because the ones that are
well, of course, the ones that really picked up a lot of the slack were like, I know this is also tangential, but of course this kind of is what happens when we start talking about things that all link together.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got other stuff, of course, that also is semi-close together, like... Adventure Time and whatnot, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, etc., all fit into this similar realm, basically.
I didn't realize
in fact,
that.
many of them actually would make reference to each other as time would kind of go by within the shows. But Adventure Time is now off the air, as I believe is Steven Universe, and OKKO is actually picking up the slack on a couple of those mentions, which is kind of interesting.
What's weird is because I remember when Steven Universe came out, I was in college.
Right.
That's really weird to me.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man, I am old, guys.
I know the feeling.
Uh-huh. Number 1's, though. Blue.
Oh, number 1 is another kind of a toss-up. They're pretty similar, but Transformers and Voltron.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like
you talk about
the original
oh
my god, the redone. I need to catch up on the new Voltron because I'm behind actually a couple series or a couple seasons. But the original Transformers was also just like it was kind of like, again, I agree completely with Beard's assessment of Batman the animated series, because I just like the way that those cartoons really didn't pull punches as far as like the viewers were concerned. Like they knew that the viewers were going to be a lot of their viewers were going to be kids, and they didn't really, I mean, they softened it a bit, but there was a lot of stuff that they kind of I don't know, they kind of like helped guide a lot of the development and the conversations that as kids we had.
I think that's true of any of the great cartoons that we have on our list, though, because even we were talking earlier about Looney Tunes
that's
being a groundbreaker and doing propaganda and basically teaching kids essentially what was going on in the world as the adults were seeing it, but in a format that the kids could understand at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Scooby-Doo really didn't do that, but
they taught us about stranger danger.
Sort of. They taught you to go and figure out if there's a problem and be good citizens. They taught you that
if your friends were
did all the time.
Really hungry all the time, there was probably something going on in the back of that old van.
I mean, Shaggy has got so many issues. Let's not talk about that one.
I'm trying to find redeeming qualities of this cartoon.
The thing is, okay, here's a spin foil theory.
Is that Scooby's not actually talking? It's all from Shaggy's
that everybody else is just high, and they think he's talking.
I'm not entirely opposed to this theory.
The Scooby Snacks. It's the Scooby Snacks that did it. Anyway, number one for you, Peter. I'm gonna move on before I just go way too far.
Oh Lord, this is what I gotta follow.
Yeah, I know. I have to follow you, and I know what's coming up.
I mean, do you?
I think I do.
I'm telling you, it's My Little Pony.
Last week. It's not My Little Pony. I think you're gonna say Dragon Ball.
Nope.
You're not gonna do it?
I'm not gonna say Dragon Ball. I'm gonna do something different. I had made a reference to it last week. So again, many of you or some of you that were paying attention might already pick up on it.
Hey!
That's not. And that's fine. She doesn't have to pick up on it. I'm still going to drive it home, of course. Anyway, I should stop beating around the bush here. So many of you may know references from this one. There were songs that definitely happened thanks to this one. You started to learn
Animaniacs. Got it. Yeah. I was like, I know you.
Yes,
I see. I pay attention.
We're talking about an influential cartoon. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. Pinky in the Brain.
Freakazoid.
Freakazoid. Yeah, I was going to say.
Freakazoid was amazing.
The amount of different things that Animaniacs basically allowed is like a platform. If Batman was the spawn of many of those different shows that had occurred and kind of gave rise to them, the Animaniacs was the opposite of that in some cases, where they had effectively allowed for the platform to be opened up to many different developers. It was the thing that allowed for so many different ideas to conform. And that was the thing that absolutely blows me away about Animaniacs to this day. Not the fact that it is anyway like related to Steven Spielberg,
which is also amazing, by the way.
It is also amazing. Yes,
I don't want us to gloss over that there is something related to Spielberg that is
right. But like, here's the whole entire point of like what that show is about. The yucks, the comedy, and everything else that are basically behind it, to me, almost make like not a ton of sense considering who it is that's like supposedly at the head of all of it. And of course, that is Steven Spielberg. He is, of course, not necessarily known for writing stuff like that or even close to it. But of course, having directed hand into how it is versus like development hand, of course, should showcase that there is some difference in how it all is sort of put together. But again, like where the ideas had spawned for Batman the Animated Series to allow for those linked series to happen, you of course had the same thing sort of happen with Animaniacs. But it was more like, here's a skit, how are people going to care about this? And of course it evolved into something larger. And as soon as the Animaniacs themselves were pulled away, then you ended up having all the other shows that were still kind of there, which was the thing I think that should showcase the testament of time. It was kind of like Saturday Night Live for kids in a way.
Yeah, it really
where
was.
they would have so many different skits that were going on, and then you would also have all these different timelines that were happening too. But I don't know, I always just love what the Animaniacs were about, the humor that was in there, the fact that they were actually able to, of course, communicate to kids too about ways for learning and so on. It really makes a big difference in terms of like how you grow up, and of course the ones that you're watching are now the ones that are helping you to understand a little bit more about your world and like what's going on in it, even if it's just a real mannerism as a cartoon character telling you what's going on.
So true.
It also displays the fact that Spielberg does a really good job when someone else writes for him.
Yeah.
What? Empire Strikes Back? What?
What? Who? Huh?
Who? Huh?
Oh, man. Okay.
Green, what's your number one?
It was going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because that was my every Saturday morning cartoon. Every Saturday morning. And my mom...
I do like the fact that all three of us are agreed on this one.
TMNT was amazing. And gosh, the thing that my mom will talk about the most when we like reminisce, because, you know, holiday times, parents want to embarrass you. My mom would talk about how I was a very odd child when it came to the things I chose to watch. On Saturday mornings.
I would have never known.
Saturday morning, I would watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then the weird one was I would watch people fish, because they would, on one of those 3 channels, they would have fisherman tournaments, and I would watch fishing.
I'm not gonna lie, that is kind of an odd combo.
Yeah, I know. I'm a weird duck. I'm okay with this fact, but
I mean they're kind of linked. They're kind of
not really. I mean, aquatic, I guess, but I don't watch fishing anymore. I think it was just soothing, and I like water, and that's about as close as I can get to justifying it. But my number one is actually a different show I'd watch in the mornings before I had to get on the school bus, because I grew up out in the country and had to get on the bus fairly early to get to school. And there were 2 shows that would show back to back. One was the Andy Griffith Show.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, which is my number one now instead, and I've seen every episode multiple times, and I've even considered buying it.
Sailor Moon.
No, that was after
Dragon
school.
Ball.
No.
Oh.
It's another like live action one, and it's about in the same vein as Andy Griffith Show.
Thunderbirds?
And it had a very Thunderbirds. Gilligan's Island.
Okay.
It's a weird one, but it was something that I always found comforting because of the shenanigans. Gilligan's Island was the Scooby-Doo of live action.
Oh, yeah.
In some respects, because they had some of the craziest happen. One episode
between that one and friggin' I Love Lucy, that was pretty much what my mom subjected me to watching.
Right.
And I learned to love it, but...
Right. Like, the episode that comes to mind that it's still just kind of hilariously stupid is the one where they get the government genetically modified seeds.
Right.
And they plant a garden, and each of them have like a favorite vegetable or whatever, and they eat the vegetable and they get the superpowers from the vegetable. So Gilligan loves carrots. They can see for miles and miles away. One of the girls gets super strong. It's just ridiculous and silly. Mm-hmm. And it was childhood for so many years because waiting on the bus was always painful. But that concludes our top 3 this week. And that was quite a bit more dynamic than I thought it was going to be.
Well, you know.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You know what we're going to do next week? Or I guess 2 weeks from now? Or 3 weeks from now? Schedules are weird right now.
Mm-hmm.
What's a schedule? I don't know about schedules.
Look, YouTuber.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which channel are we on again?
Hell if I know.
I love how he's just completely embraced it at this point. He's like, I don't even know anymore.
I'm actually going to do a Dawning themed top 3.
Oh no.
We're gonna do.
God, if it's how many cookies have you made? I might just
no.
lose my mind.
It's gonna be top 3 favorite cookies for us. Because we're having to make all these cookies.
like actual cookies?
Yeah, literal cookies for us. Like our top 3 favorite cookies.
I was going to say, fair. Calm down, Grandma Levante.
Hey now. I like everybody to have a happy holiday as well.
So calm down, Grandma Levante?
I love how he's like, that kind of confirms what I just said.
Listen,
Green,
you.
Take us out.
Listen, thank you for joining us, Top 3. Remember, you can always shoot us a topic. Please do so. I'm starting to whittle down on the list a little bit. We're getting to the end of it. Let me know what you want us to talk about. And remember, everybody loves a list.